And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Naomi Ages is with us, Climate Liability Project Lead for Greenpeace USA. Her work focuses on establishing legal, political, and financial accountability for climate change aimed to protect and empower those who are most vulnerable to its aspects. Of course, Greenpeace.org is the website. You can tweet at Greenpeace USA. Naomi, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much for having me, Tom.
Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Ages, that's correct.
Okay. It seems pretty straightforward, but every now and then, you get taken. So you're saying no to the Republican Exxon protection ploy. What is this?
We, along with 7 other environmental and philanthropic organizations and 17 state attorneys general offices, received a letter from 13 Republican members of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, demanding that we turn over communications with each other related to the issue of climate change. It was an incredibly broad request, and we had some serious concerns with the jurisdiction of the committee and the legality of the request, so we declined to provide those communications yesterday.
Now, this is Lamar Smith's committee. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
He's
Lamar Smith is the chairman.
Right. He's the Republican from, I think, Texas?
He is from Texas.
Yeah. And who, as I recall, thinks the world is 6,000 years old. There's no such thing as global climate change?
That are both views that he has publicly espoused, yes.
Yeah. And this guy, the Republicans in their infinite wisdom, put this guy in charge of the House of Representatives Committee on Science, Health, and Technology, right?
Science, Space, and Technology.
Space and Technology, even better.
Correct.
That in itself should be enough to cause anybody's head to explode. And now that Exxon and other groups, now that Greenpeace and other groups have exposed to some extent, and those that didn't expose are amplifying the voice of those who did, that ExxonMobil and perhaps other oil companies as well, and apparently the oil industry's lead lobbying group, knew for decades that their product was damaging the planet and conceivably could even destroy at least habitability of the planet for the human species. And instead of doing anything about it, by way of cleaning up their product, they instead launched a multi-million, probably a multi-billion dollar over the years, climate denial campaign. And your reward for having exposed the perfidy of this corporation that, literally has blood on their hands all over the world. You look at the practices of the oil industry. You just look at the more famous one in Nigeria back a decade and a half ago.
Very concerning human rights issues.
Yeah. For exposing what these companies are up to, you've got a climate-denying whack job in the House of Representatives demanding documents from you. It's astonishing. Congratulations on telling him no. The next question, I guess, is this was a letter, not a subpoena, right? A request?
That's correct. It was
what happens
for transparency, according to the committee?
Right. So what happens if it becomes a subpoena?
Well, we and our counsel have identified a number of issues with what the committee has requested in the letter and have noted that many of the documents or communications that they're asking for would be protected by numerous kinds of privilege, and we question the committee's jurisdiction in the matter to begin with, especially given that it's 13 members of the committee and not necessarily the committee itself requesting these documents. So we think we have a very strong case to protect at least a good deal of those communications. At the same time, we've been working publicly for 2 decades on climate change to find solutions to expose deniers and to expose the deceit of the fossil fuel industry. So if we did provide communications, it would be a reflection of the work we've done publicly and for a long time.
Right. And in fact, couldn't this backfire on these guys if you had to reveal these documents to them about, climate change groups concerned about climate change, sharing science with each other, sharing strategy with each other? If you also made those things public, wouldn't it, just further expose what the fossil fuel industry is up to? Or Yeah, I suppose people have disagreements about strategy and policy, and sort of like the what was it, New Umbria University or wherever that university in the UK, where the climate scientists were arguing over minutia, and they turned it into Climate Gate. You know, this BS stuff. How do you think that might play out, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Right. Well, I think the issue really is that the committee's letter seems to be an attempt to intimidate or silence us or to distract us from this work. Just the sheer breadth of the request would take a great deal of time and resources to comply with, to turn over what is essentially public knowledge. Climate change is real. It's caused by human-made emissions. The fossil fuel industry, especially ExxonMobil, has known about this for decades and then worked to cover that up for decades to protect profits. So that information is already public. It's already known, and we are doing our best to make sure that action is taken in response to that knowledge.
Is there any way to turn this into guerrilla theater? I mean, Lamar Smith and his little band of 12 merry men on the science committee, I'm assuming they're all men, maybe I'm wrong. Typically that's the case in the Republican Party. You know, they're clowns, they're fools. Is there anything planned to point that out, or are we just going with the hashtag Exxon New and just keep pushing out the fact that these corporations were not behaving in the public interest at the very least?
I think it's a distraction by the committee from the issue that these corporations and front groups and lobbyists and scientists that they were paying were falsifying the debate about climate change. And now we're in the situation that we're in, where we have a climate denier who chairs the Committee on Science, the House Committee on Science. Right. So we don't want to get distracted by Congress's inquiry or Congress's attempts to block our work. And we don't think that the House Science Committee is legitimately doing anything to protect the public interest here, but we're going to continue to.
Right. But, you know, the reality is that most of these guys would not be in power were it not for money from the fossil fuel industry, either directly from ExxonMobil and Koch Industries and that kind of thing, or indirectly through the Koch network. You know, this massive network that's actually larger and more powerful in many ways than the entire Republican Party. Is that something that we should be all working on exposing, or is it just, you figure it's just common knowledge?
I think to you and I it's common knowledge, but we've discovered that at least 12 of the letter signers have taken multiple thousands of dollars, some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout their career from the fossil fuel industry, and that's all publicly available information on the internet, and we'll continue to make that point. And I think the media has done quite a good job in pointing that out, that these are politicians whose it's in their self-interest to protect the corporations that fund them, not to protect the American people, which should be their actual job. Yeah,
and this is a sad state of affairs brought to us courtesy of the United States Supreme Court, and which is a whole other issue, obviously, but you know, the whole money in politics. A number of First Amendment issues here, exactly. Yeah, the whole issue of money in politics right now, you know, that Bernie in particular has been beating the drum on. I think really clarifies this, doesn't it?
I think this is the perfect example of what happens when you get corporate money influencing politicians. You end up in the situation we're in right now. Exactly.
Yeah, where the politicians are using the power of their political office to harass individual nonprofits and groups that are doing good work on behalf of the corporations who are paying for the politicians. It's the exact opposite of what, you know, a functioning democracy or republic should be. Naomi Ages, the lead of the Climate Liability Project at Greenpeace.org. You can tweet at Greenpeace USA. Naomi, thanks for dropping by.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Great talking with you. We'll be back. Thank you.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.